Hey, what's up guys? Jamie from Palette here. I'm going to try something new in this video where you don't see me on screen, but you do hear me talking. Let's go match one. So I've got Shdow Nidoqueen lead and double normal in back. And basically this was my favorite team to use in Season 9 Kanto Cup. Alright, so here when they switch out and they bring in the Snorlax, I know that neither of my double normal in my backline wants to take a superpower. So I'm going to stay in and try to do what only Shdow Nidoqueen does best. And that is to Fang and Jab. And we're going to take out a lot of HP on this Snorlax. And I've already gone down one shield to make that happen. And I'm going to have to decide, do I want to go down 2 shields or not? So I have to decide, do I want to exit with energy on the Queen? Or do I want to keep a shield? Ultimately I decide shield advantage will be more important. And I still try and exit, and I just can't make it. Snorlax gets those licks through. And so now I have to pick a Pokemon. I don't want to reveal that I have dark moves yet, so I go with Lickitung. We're going to be able to tank a lot of moves coming from this Graveler. So we're on a CMP here. They go for the Stone Edge. It does a lot of damage, let's be honest. But Lickitung can tank it. In this match I had not best buddied my Lickitung, so it's got a little bit less of an advantage. And then now I decide, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start getting some energy on the rat. And it could be worthwhile to go ahead and shield here. Alright. Go straight for the crunch, and I think we might get a little bit of additional farm if they try and stay in and get off another move. Let's see. And here they either over tap or they just barely don't get that Volt Switch through. And sure enough, it is Hypno in the back, and I've got 2 Hypno counters left. Some people call this the Hypno Cup. And so you can look at this team that I run as sort of the bait for Hypno. Ooh, all right, they decided top left. So basically, if they don't have Focus Blast, then that is a GG. All right, so trying to find match 2 here, finding opponent, a little bit of a queue time. And here we go. All right, in this match, we've got Shdow Nidoqueen into another Graveler. So this is a popular lead today. And they're all switching out. So I think what I want to do is get off at least one Fang and maybe build up until they throw a move. And at least that way when I dip with energy. Here we go. Going to commit 1 shield, at least to save the Queen. And they were baiting with X-Scissor anyways. And I'm going to be able to dip with my Poison Fang and now continue to lick down Beedrill with Lickitung. By this point, I still had not realized that I had not yet best buddied my Lickitung to get that best buddy bonus. I am going to commit for the lick down here to merge with energy, but I don't think they're going to bait on this last one. Yeah, so they go for the drill run. And we've got a Power Whip, but also maybe like 1.5 body slams. I'm gonna go straight for the Power Whip. And they let it go through. And then if they let me get to it, I will body slam, and I get to it, so I will body slam. And they've got to decide, do they want to commit the shield or not? They know I still have the Nido. They let that go too. Okay, so they're probably hoping that was my only counter to Marowak. And so now I'm going to come in and we're going to bait because they have 2 shields and they might very well Go ahead and burn 1 shield. But it's also going to make it, oh, they don't. It's also going to still make it easier for the rat to get these crunches off and do more. And I could have potentially saved the shield if they don't have Fire Blast there. That is GG. Alright guys, now we're going to hop into match 3. So we already saw one Alolan Graveler lead, and then we saw another Alolan Graveler lead. I'm curious, will we see any counters to those as a lead? Alright, so who do we have here? Barlow 8. Let's get ready to rumble. And there we go. We see a counter to the A-Graves. We see Shadow Vic. Now, if I can land a Poison Fang and then stay in with this just war with Shadow Vic, then I potentially can take the war. But instead, they catch it on their, what looked like Alolan Muck. Alright, so I'm going to stay in long enough to try to build close to, I do get the Fang, and then I dip in hopes that I'll catch a Dark Pulse, but they over farm, and now I'm probably going to have to shield to prevent myself from being hit with a Sludge Wave. Let's see what comes through. Alright, so that was a good shield. They did throw the Sludge Wave. Now, their defense is debuffed, so I'm going to over farm and I'm going to throw Crunch. And at this range, this Amok should die to this Crunch if they let it through. Boom, there we go. They come back in immediately without waiting their clock onto the Shadow Vic, and it is going to get a lot of damage off, but look at the amount, and this doesn't even get the defense drop. Now look at the amount that the quick attacks are doing. I mean, in terms of just the HP bar, but not actual damage, that was like a steady race of mutual damage there. So I am going to let the rat go, and then I tried to come in and get some farm with Nidoqueen, and they said we're not going to have that, and they immediately switched to Marowak to deny me the farm relative to their energy. So I'm going to throw the Earth Power, we get the last shield, and I switch, and we've got Lickitung into Marowak, and if they have Fire Blast, they take that game, but they top left, so they must not have the Fire Blast. Alright guys, now we're jumping into match 4. So we've already seen A-Grav lead, Shadow Vic lead, perhaps to counter the A-Gravs. What will we get now? Yo, Pogo Fan! Shout out to Pogo Fan, somebody I've become friends with in the Pokemon Go community. It was definitely an honor to match with them. We said good game afterwards. So we've got Shadow Nidoqueen into Shiny Lickitung. Quite the flex there with the shiny. Okay, I am going to shield Nidoqueen here because I know it's a body slam, but I still want to keep my Nidoqueen healthy because I know that I'm probably potentially going to switch out here. If Pokefan lets the Earth Power through, then I'll still try to build up to a little bit more energy before I swap, and I'll try to catch a body slam on my own Lickitung. And we do get the catch. Alright, so that would be quite the lick down, so I'm anticipating he's probably going to swap. And so I only got a little bit of an energy lead, and he comes in with the Alolan XL Grimer. I consider that a spicy pick because it's less commonly used, but I think many would still consider Alolan Grimer to be meta, I suppose. It's that good. It does have access to the Sludge Bomb that we're going to see coming through here, as well as the Crunch, and it is thick as an XL Pokemon. These licks are just doing like basically nothing, and so I do count on the Body Slam damage to help chip away at the Grimer, knowing that I'm probably going to need to come back in with my Nidoqueen. I could come back in with the rat, but I don't know if he'll make it in time to the Sludge. At least I know this is probably a Crunch. And I am going to go ahead and commit a shield and try to save my Queen, because I don't think I'm in Body Slam range if the Licky comes back in, and I could probably try to farm down. Okay, so I go for the Earth Power because I think what I just saw was confusion coming through, which means it's probably the Hypno, and I'm gonna go straight in with my Rat. And PogoFan says, no, Jamie, not a dark Pokemon in back. Yo, GG. Thanks for the battle, PogoFan. Alright guys, we're hopping into match 5. We saw Agrav, Shadowvic, Shiny Lickitung. So let's see what we're going to see as the next lead today in my sets. Again, I am running the Shdow Nidoqueen with the double normal backline, and both of those double normals are basically counters to Hypno. So if we do see one, we are ready. Alright. So we've got Shdow Nidoqueen into Agrav, but not just Agrav, Shiny Alolan Graveler. Look at that. That's one cool looking meatball. Okay, this does look like Hex, and I go ahead and swap at what was probably an inconvenient time in case I was going to catch a Shadow Bone, and this is probably going to be a Fire Blast. Anytime you see a Marowak with Hex, there's a good chance that it's a Fire Blast coming at you. Okay. This is going to do a lot more damage. A Ghost will resist the normal type of the Body Slams, so that does more damage than the Body Slams would do. And we're like one lick away, and they go to throw the move, and I'm ready to just come back in and get farmed with Nido, but they go with the Bone Club. So now we get to emerge with a little bit more energy, and so I'm going to go ahead and try to Power Whip again. And we're going to see if they let them move through or no. They might be saving. They let them move through, so that means they might be. Maybe they have their own Nidoqueen in back. I don't know. They might be saving the shields for whatever the back Pokemon is, hoping it could sweep. Okay, so if this is a Stone Edge, we live. So I'm not going to shield. Big live, and we get to farm down. And so we've got a 2-shield, third Pokemon. I see a big gust coming through. That must be a pitch up. Okay. No need to shield the first one. Now, they likely need to shield the next one because this will do a bit more damage after the first debuff, but it does still deliver another debuff. And so now we get to try to quick attack down with 2 shields. And they said, okay, you've poisoned me too much. GG, thank you for the battle. Alright guys, let's hop into match 6. So we got battle starting pretty much immediately that time, not too much of a queue. And King Mark of F. Let's rumble. Alright, another Mew lead. So here's how I like to play Mew. I like to let them throw first and try to sneak a Poison Jab through. I can't tell if we actually got that one through that point or not. It may have denied. Either way, I do commit 1 shield, and if I Fang here, I potentially have to go down 2 shields, but if I Earth Power and they let it through, then I keep my shield, but I don't get to leave with energy. Unless I were to like strategically undercharge. Alright, so he comes back in with Blastoise after letting the Earth Power through. I'm going to go ahead and at least Fang before I dip. Because we've already done a lot of damage now if they let that through. And then these licks that are taking advantage of their defense fell exploit here. These licks are going to really add up. I shouldn't say exploit, really it's a fair strategy to debuff. I should say debuff. Alright, so not the biggest fan of the Snorlax and back here. This is going to require some tricky plays, but I am going to be able to spam Body Slams. If they let a Power Whip through there, and I think it might have done a bit more damage, but that's okay because really I need to try to spam as many charge moves here as I can. I don't mind that I've got the threat of another Body Slam coming at them now, plus I've got a little under half my HP here on this Licky because it will tempt them to Superpower, in which case I won't shield because they would debuff themselves. And so really what we're looking at is them needing to Body Slam twice. So that is what they commit to. And I'm going to make the decision to let Licky go. I've got a full health rat plus my Nidoqueen. So I'm going to come in with Nidoqueen, and I banked a Poison Fang on the Nidoqueen. And to my surprise, I guess they wanted to see what else I have. And that's where I was really anticipating that I might have to try to save the shield for the rat. But when they did that swap, it made me realize that they did still have a lot of energy on the Blastoise, in which case I have to make a decision here about whether I shield. But it's because I think I've got enough here to at least go ahead and crunch. I think they are at a move, so we may see that come through pretty much immediately here. And here I get one quick attack through, and they throw the move. So the quick attack won't resolve, but here comes the Poison Fang. And notice the crunch that I did trigger a defense fall. So this is going to hit even harder, and it is enough to KO. And that's a GG. If they got the lick through, this match could have been flipped. All right, guys, we are now hopping into match 7. So we saw a Mew, a Lickitung, a Shadow Vic, several A-Grav leads. Definitely interesting leads in the Kanto Cup lately. So I'm interested to see what we're going to see next. And sometimes the lead is not always neutral or favorable for the Shdow Nidoqueen. So I'm hoping we get to share a match here where it's a bit more difficult on the lead in terms of pressure. Let's see what we get though. We get another Mew, and this time we get a shiny Mew. Quite the flex. This does still put pressure on Nidoqueen with the incoming Surf pressure. So I let them throw first. I do get a Poison Jab through, and so like I said before, I could go with the Fang, but I like to sometimes go Earth Power and see are they going to shield it. And sometimes they'll let it through because they think it's a Fang, and other times they let it through because they have another counter. In this case, they have the Lapras counter. So that was a lot of water pressure on my Nidoqueen up front by the Mew, and now by the Shadow Lapras. So they do shield, and now I decide to go with my rat because I think it's going to be able to put better pressure with the incoming debuff from Crunch if I can get one. This is probably a Skull Bash, but I still have a healthy Lickitung in back. They Skull Bash and dip. So at this point, I am glad that I went with the rat because we might get a potential debuff on this Pokemon, and we don't. So now this Ninetales, Kanto Ninetales, a Shadow one at that. Now it gets quite a bit of farm here. I still have a better chance of trying to farm down and shield to make it happen, or perhaps Simul KO here. And the Lapras through, let's see. Oh, we do get to farm down. We are going to get off another Fang, so we avoid the Simul KO. And remember, Lapras threw basically all of its energy with that Skull Bash. So it has quite a long way to go in order to get to another Skull Bash. And we have a lot of health. And we were able to lick down, and they say, all right, I can see the match. GG. Thank you for the battle. All right, guys, now we're hopping into match 8. And I'll be honest, this one will contain something that is a matchup I wasn't as familiar with, and I'll highlight that when we get to it. All right, let's jump in. We've got Shdow Nidoqueen into Venusaur. Oh man, this feels like an Open Great League match already. All right, so I'm going to actually let them go first. because I don't want them to try to like catch a Poison Fang on something else. They still very well could, but let's see how they decide to play this. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to do 1 in throw. Okay. If they let this Fang through, that's going to be a lot of damage coming from Shdow Nidoqueen onto this grass. Okay. They let it go through, and then here's the problem. They bring in the Sand Slash. I am going to be able to get a shield here. That or I would be taking a Pokemon. So I do get the shield, but here's the thing. This thing knows Earthquake and the new move since the last Kanto Cup. This thing knows Night Slash. So I decided not to shield because I don't know if they're going to bait or not. They do go for the Earthquake, and that does do quite a bit, but we do have still a big survive. And I'm thinking that a Night Slash maybe will not KO in this range. And so they build a lot of energy. And then I start to kind of get greedy in my thinking. I've already reached the crunch. And I start to think maybe even if they throw 2 Night Slashes, maybe it still won't KO. And so I try to quick attack down, but by this point I think I'm too low and this Night Slash would hurt. And it does, as thick as a Alolan Rat is. And I think that was just a bad call on my part because I could have come in with another Pokemon, and still shielded and had farm. I'm gonna go straight Earth Power here. If their Night Slash, the first one had boosted, the second one definitely I think would have KO'd on the rat, and so that was the mistake that I made. Okay, I'm still gonna try to save my Queen here because I'm not quite sure what they have in back. If it is like a Hypno, then I'm basically giving them both of my Hypno counters. But I think I am gonna go straight for the Power Whip here. That is going to do a bit more damage than the Body Slam, though it is, I guess, technically neutral. And maybe it was a mistake, because maybe if I'd gone 2 Body Slams there, I would have been able to get to it. But they go for the Earth Power. It does KO, and so now they come back in with a Venusaur, but it's too low. Now they have 3 Pokemon that are just very low. And so he wanted to deny me farm and see if he could get to a move there. It didn't work out. I am going to go ahead and Fang because I think all I have to do against the Sand Slash is 1 or 2 jabs. And we're going to go ahead and see if this KOs. It does. And we jab and we take the match. Shdow Nidoqueen coming in clutch. GG. Thank you for the battle. Alright guys, hopping into match 9, we've seen Muse, we've seen Agravs, we've seen Shadowvic, we've seen a Sand Slash, we've seen Lickitung. Alright, let's see what other interesting leads we get in our next match. We've got Shadow Queen into whoa, this is a Alolan Sand Slash, not Kanto. So that ice is not going to be good for our Nidoqueen. So they build up to what I assume is an Ice Punch, and they dip out. But that does give me the space to build up to a Crunch. I could have gone for the, they let it through because they know they can tank 1. I could have gone for the Hyper Fang there, because if they were going to let it through, I think Hyper Fang would have done more damage there, and I could have potentially flipped this matchup. Okay, still going to get to the second Crunch. At this point, I think they are going to commit the shield because they want to keep alignment so that they can deliver the damage of their ice moves from their Sand Slash onto my Nidoqueen. But these quick attacks and crunches have actually added up, taking the Nidoqueen pretty low here. And at this point, I've still got some energy on my, actually no, I don't have any energy on my Queen, so I need to get some. But they do have energy on their A-Slash. Okay. think this is just a Poison Fang based on the energy they threw already. And I'm looking at simply dipping out either way. And it looks like we caught what I think is an Ice Punch. Let's go. Okay, this is a terrible matchup for me at least, because Pidgeot is going to take, as a normal type, it's going to take like very little damage from these licks that are non-stab because Lickitung is a normal type. So I need to count on Body Slam spam, and I feel like maybe the opponent shielded super early there, but I guess they want to keep as much health as they can because they want to try to build some energy. Basically, by feather dancing me there, they ensure that I'm stuck trying to lick down, which means they're going to get a bunch more gusts in, and they're counting on that to be their win condition. I'm going to try to get one more Body Slam off. We actually do get to the move. We are going to get it off, but it's doing less damage because we were feather danced. And then I go for my swap. I do have at least one Fang loaded, and I've got 2 shields. At a certain point, I am going to have to throw energy, but that Feather Dance is pretty bad, for me at least, because it's lowering my attack. So I've farmed up, I think, as much as I can without having to give both of my shields away. And I have a few choices here. What I could do is Fang first and Earth Power second. And honestly, I think that is the play to really do here. So if you're watching this and you're going to run this team, Fang first there if you know the Sandslash is low on energy. Because now I do need a shield here so I don't have to deal with an Ice Punch. And then now I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to the Earth Power. So this is where this Fang is very limited in what it can do. I'm going to do a few more jabs, and then I'm going to attempt to lick down, and instead we simul KO. So let's go, Nidoqueen and Lickitung, GG. Alright guys, we are at the final match now for this video. We are at match 10. We saw several Mew, we saw several Lickitung, several Shadowvix, several Agrav in the lead, and Alolan Sandslash in the lead. What do we get this time? We get Electrode in the lead. Pretty good lead here for Shdow Nidoqueen. They decide to tip out. I get 1 or 2 Fangs in, and I decide to go Alolan Rat. Ordinarily, I was going Lickitung into the Mew, and it was adding up on lick damage. And this time, I try an experiment here to see how Alolan Rat would go. To my surprise, they do not go for a Surf. They do not go for a Wild Charge. They go for the Flame Charge. So I say, you know what? I want to know how much Hyper Fang is going to do to this Mew, and let's see if they let it through. I know that rhymed, and guess what? They let it through. Look at that damage. Does not KO, but I'm not sure that Crunch was going to KO at that range either. It was certainly going to do a lot. Either way, we're going to get a bunch of farm here. So at this point in this match, we have kept shields and we have flipped switch. I expect the Electrode to come back in. I'm looking at the top right of my screen, and I do see an electric symbol. So I assume it's the Electrode or another. Either way, I'm going to try to double crunch in this interaction because they probably just want to farm down. We did not get the defense drop from the first crunch. We did make it to a second crunch. Let's see if they let it through. They do not let it through, but we do get a shield, which is not a surprise because they want to farm down and get some energy going. I'm going to come back in with the Queen. They bank with their energy, and I think it's best here that versus this Water Gun Lapras, I stay in and get a ton of damage off here. I think I've still got 2 shields, and the Water Guns just aren't, I think they're not quite doing as much as the Ice Shards, which means that I've got some runway here to shield, get off another Fang, and put them into a difficult situation if I want to. Okay, I decide to dip because I know they left with energy, and now I want to leave with energy, and I do not think this is enough Water Guns to have gotten to, let's say, a Skull Bash or an Ice Beam. This should just be a Surf, and it is. Don't need to shield. And now I actually am going to end up with 2 of my Pokemon with energy left over. And not just that, I think I'm almost at 2 Body Slams on the Lickitung, and they know that is GG. Thank you for the battle.